Come on now. Stream it. Okay. Buffering, telling me all about it. Ooh, there we are. You got the 365 Message Center with Darrell as a service Webster and
Daniel Glenn. Woo!
And we'll be covering a couple of things around TLS, around the new ribbon menu, around Portal and apps, and another way to create teams. This is the 365 Message Center. Good morning, Daniel Glenn. Good now.
Top of the afternoon to you.
Yeah, that's right. We were just talking about that.
Yep.
Time zone changes, daylight savings, who does daylight savings and who doesn't. And it looks like we're going to be brought together, because we've changed recently, 2 hours closer. So now I don't get up as early.
Which is fantastic. I want you to get your sleep. Yes, we are. It is just, you're in the southern hemisphere, I'm in the northern hemisphere, and so when we do 2-hour changes, so when we change daylight savings time this time, we are coming 2 hour closer.
Like some kind of like country sort of folk dance, right? Where everyone sort of parts out and then comes back in together.
Okay, square dancing, I think is what you're trying to say, but sure, okay.
Yeah, it's different. Hey, and we'll say hello to Sandy in the chat room and Suzanne as well. Good to have you join. And Suzanne, because she's from New Zealand, will be happy to hear that next week it'll start at 7, so you can potentially be eating your breakfast and watching it live rather than the delayed coverage.
Nice,
right? Yeah. So these 4 messages we have. What, in your opinion? Some of it's interesting, some of it's ho hum, some of it's important to know.
And I think we need to remember that you can get this thought in your head that this doesn't pertain to me, so it must not be important. Remember, it may be important to someone else, right? So that's why we cover them all, to really give you an idea of what's going on, how it could impact you. And I mean, it could be a pretty big deal. We'll get to the My Apps one. I mean, that could be a big deal for an organization that's really using it. So
yeah. That's something else we can bring up too, and we know that there have been more admin roles added to the admin center, and admin centers themselves. So you have your specialist SharePoint one, which has changed, and you've got your Teams and Skype one for your communications, and so these roles that have been added mean that yes, these messages could mean something more to that specialist in your team. They'll work with it. They'll focus on it. As a general admin, like myself in a small to medium business, we've got to deal with it all. So I guess it's us that's supposed to try and help tell why it's important.
Yeah. It's kind of why we do the show.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And look, a bit of honesty here. Sometimes it is hard to keep up, even if there are 4 messages, because guess what? We aren't necessarily admins of lots of tenants or our own tenants. And we do have jobs. We work both in consulting, don't we? So,
yep.
Yeah.
We have lots of jobs.
yeah, lots of hats. Oh, I see some behind you. Let's click on over to our message center. Oh, that's so I blow this up so that I can share it nicely with everyone on screen. And I always love it when we have a general availability message. And because I'm using magnification of 125, 150, it kind of takes up half the screen. But it does show that it's really important, and we know that when we read it, it disappears. Let's bump this over here. So we can see that we've got 3 stay informed and 1 plan for change. In fact, that 1 plan for change, we'll finish on it, but check out the date. 31st of October, which is today here in New Zealand.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You sure?
No, we just talked about this.
It's the 29th here.
Oh, yeah. No?
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Okay. No, you're right. Yeah, 30th of October.
Don't get speedy with your days here. Come on, we got 5 work days.
I know.
5?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I can't get that right, then what else can I get wrong?
Hey, listen, next time you're going to have an hour extra sleep, so maybe you'll remember the day.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, so this first one, you might think ho hum, or you might think, yeah, this is great.
Mm.
We have been able to create Microsoft Teams out of existing Office 365 groups. Good thing,
Mm.
right? Because, well, actually, all Teams are 365 groups underneath it. What I'm referring to is when you've first of all been able to create an Outlook-based Office 365 group, also known as an Outlook group, or what was the other name that Christoph was giving it? They keep changing the marketing names. Outlook group,
Yeah.
right? And so you were able to add Teams functionality to it. I found that useful. Did you, Daniel?
Yes, most certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you can do that from within Teams. As you go to create a team, if you're an owner of an Outlook group, an Office 365 Outlook group, then you can add Teams to it.
Yep.
All right. So that feels like the natural place to do it. No problems there. Should shift our faces over off the message. But this message tells me that there's another way to do this. It's coming soon.
Yeah, and it's a convenience thing, I think, right, Darrell? I mean, this is saying you can add. Let's look at the sentence here at this title, because it's a compound title here. But
yeah,
from within SharePoint Online Team site. So you're on your SharePoint site. You can add a Microsoft Teams to the existing Office 365 group when you're on that site. So that means you have an Office 365 group, and you have a SharePoint site that's attached to that group, that's part of that group. And if it doesn't have a team already, you're going to be able to add a Microsoft Teams to that group just from within SharePoint. So as you mentioned just a second ago, this is kind of another vector. This is another way to get Teams fired up, because there's an existing way to do that, right, Darrell? To add Teams to an existing Office 365 group.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if you're going and you're creating a team and you think, I need to create a team, then that makes a lot of sense that way. If you're coming in from, I have a SharePoint site, and that SharePoint site must be connected to an Office 365 group. We get one when we create a group anyway. Then I can create a team from visiting that intranet site.
Yeah, and I think that's it, because, and we talk about this a lot, of work the way you work, right? Work the way your group works, little g group, work the way your team works. And what if that group of people work a lot in the SharePoint team site, right? And they're not in Teams already. They're not. They don't know what that experience is like. But that one of the admins says, "Oh, now I've got this link that says create a team. I can click that. It'll go through the process of adding a team to this, and then now we can kind of integrate in all of that." So I think we need to make sure that we're mindful when we say things like, okay, everybody just work where you need to work and where your organization does great and your team does great. And then we see these things that say, where we're adding other vectors, that's a word we used before, other vectors to create stuff. And we go, wait, why do we need that? There is a way to do this. Well, yeah, but those people may not be working in that vector, right? And another vector in may be the best thing for them. So
I'm putting a wondering out here. I see that SharePoint is certainly another popular vector to create a team from an existing Outlook group. Here's a cheeky vector. Will you think we'd ever see the ability to create a Microsoft team from an Outlook group within Outlook Web Access? Or even the Outlook desktop? Because we're working there, maybe we want to add teams to it.
Maybe. I think with this vector of being able to add a team within the SharePoint site, you're already in the group. Right? You're already working within the Office 365 group on that SharePoint site. How are you, if you're in Outlook, how are you already part of the Office 365 group to add the team? I guess if you're in that box, that group, then maybe so. Maybe. I wouldn't put it past it. Maybe. Yeah. And actually, I would be, one word that one thing I like is consistency, right? And I want all my Office 365 groups to have all the kind of same stuff. Maybe it would be great to have, for it to sense what I don't have as part of the Office 365 group, and then in all of the other stuff, it offer to kind of complete. You complete me. So I don't know.
I'm actually thinking now through how people use Outlook groups, and because of the convenience of an Outlook group and that you can subscribe to all messages, I wonder how many people will actually visit the shared mailbox view of the Outlook group. Because you can get that message, you can be included in the loop of the conversation. You can, within the message, you can say, I want to go to the SharePoint site, or you find your other way through.
Right, but I think you're also missing those times when some of the people in the Office 365 group are subscribed to those emails, but maybe a lot of them are not. For instance, if maybe the admins are watching it and then, the non-admins are not, or vice versa. So it's not like everybody's either following it or not following it. So it could be a mixed bag. So I don't know. Some could be working in it, some could not.
Let's throw some other things in the mix there, because we've seen this as well. You can create an Outlook group from Planner, from Power BI. What else have we got? Stream. If you create your own channel, sometimes you can create a brand new Office 365 group there. So yeah, I think they've picked a natural vector in there for having teams and teamwork. But yeah, do we go to that extent?
Will they ever have a way to create a Microsoft Teams from a Yammer group?
Maybe. And vice versa.
Because right now it's either Yammer or Teams, right?
Well, you're picking your messaging platform, so it's the same. It's actually either Outlook, Yammer, or Teams. So it's what you're choosing to be your
No, that's what I meant.
messaging
Yeah, but I was just talking about Teams exactly. I was talking about Teams and Yammer. If you go to Yammer and you create that group, it's going to create the Office 365 group, but it's not going to give you a Teams. And vice versa. If you create it in Teams, you're not going to get a Yammer, but I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Well, we've done that one to death.
Yes, we have. Wow, 13 minutes. Woo!
It's still a good question to ask. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, we've got it now. The ability to create a team out of an Outlook group from a team site. Here's this new ribbon menu that we've talked about. We've seen previews of it earlier in the year. We discussed whether or not people should freak out. Let's revisit that because it's arriving on people's desktops. Two things that are changing there, Dan.
Yeah.
The look of the icon, and now we are starting to see that compact single line icon bar. Oh, they call it the Simplified Ribbon.
Darrell, I got on board with the Simplified Ribbon, especially since you can maximize it, right? Easily you can maximize it. So I got on board.
Saying that, clarify that. Don't panic, people. If you have the Simplified Ribbon, you can simply expand it and get your full-size ribbon back. Right. So you can go from hair braid to cummerbund.
Yes. So you got me there. We're good. I was all on board with the Simplified Ribbon now because it focus on content. Darrell, now with this change in the icons, man, I'm not on board with this. I took a look at the post and they look nice, yes, but they're not the same ones that I'm seeing in Office, the client. So again, consistency. I talked about it before. I want to be consistent. I want to be able to go from my phone to the web UI to the client UI, and I want it to be the same. I want the icons to be the same because I don't want to have to search. I want it to say, okay, in my mind, the icon I'm going to click on has this, this layout, this shape or whatever, and just go and click on it. I don't have to think about it. So as long as they're consistent, I'm okay with changing, the icons. But as of right now, they're not. They're not going to be, as far as I know. So I'm not on board with this one. But
right.
Yeah.
Now, there's something I think, and I know that you value this because I've heard you talk about this topic before, accessibility and
Mm-hmm.
equality of being able to access it. And when I read into it, there were two things about the new icons that sort of dawned on me. Yeah, it's line art, right? So that's cool.
Yep.
And we've seen that trend happen even within different slide decks and things that are available to us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But one thing that I know, and I'm aware of this when I've got multiple monitors and some of them are at different magnifications, that sometimes applications can be pretty horrible when you're dragging it from one of the magnifications to the other, and it will blow up. And in fact, I've got an example here right now with the OBS application. Windows is trying very hard to make it visible, and some of the words are huge and some of them are tiny. And we have that same effect with the old or current icons in Office. Now that's one thing, magnification for my viewing ease, but it also, because they're vector-based icons, they scale really nicely across different screens, and they can be attuned to people's accessibility needs for visibility. So you can have that high contrast very simply and quickly, and you're making it easier for people to interact with Office. So it wasn't obvious to me till I dug into that article, but I see the value in that.
Yep, I do too. I like the line art. We've talked about, like you said, accessibility. I just want to be consistent. That's all. And so if it is going to move toward consistency, then I'll be all for it.
One thing that maybe I'll get up a Word document here as an example. It's taken me a little while to get used to what they've chosen as buttons that are going to be on the simplified menu. So some of the things that I would expect to be there, and I guess you can change this up. Let me flick.
Can you?
Yeah, there's some things that you can. Okay, first of all, it is collapsed like at the moment. That seems to be my default. I haven't sort of gone in there and say I want it to be expanded. But when okay, no, we haven't got that yet in Word. No. So it hasn't arrived in my view of Office yet, except Outlook, because I'm using the Outlook preview.
Right.
But what I've discovered or found when I'm using Outlook at least is there are some functions that I want to use and I expect to be on the simplified ribbon, and they're not there. So I think, well, do I expand it? No. What I can do is go to the far right, use the ellipsis button, and find it all sitting there. So that's something that yeah.
Do you remember what was it, Office 2010, when they first introduced the ribbon?
7.
Is that right? Was it 7?
Yeah, 2007.
Okay, but do you remember when they first introduced the ribbon, there was no moving stuff around. There was no, this is the ribbon, this is what you get. Hope you like it. If not, too bad.
Yeah.
But then they did allow you to customize the ribbon, and you could put whatever you want, move stuff around. And that's what I did. I took all of the ones that I often used and put it on that home, or was it the home ribbon or file ribbon? Anyway, the default ribbon, right? The default one shown. And so I never had to, well, not never, 90% of the time I didn't have to go to a different ribbon. I either knew the shortcut key or it was right there on that ribbon because I customized it. And I think that's where I need to be for this clasp ribbon. I need, for those actions that I do all the time, I need it to be there so that I can easily click and go. And if that's the case, and that's going to be, if I can do that, then I'm good to go.
Yeah, I haven't dug in deeper to that, but I think that there's at least room for changing one or two of your favorite buttons on the simplified ribbon. We'll see. But I mean, they're all there if you want to expand it to the full cummerbund, or you want to use the ellipse. I know. Well, it's I think of big fat ribbon, right? So it's like around my midsection. It's making me look nice and sort of slim, and I can fit a lot on it.
And with that, people,
let's go to the next message. The cummerbund of apps. There we go. We're still on apps right now, Dan.
We are?
portal.office.com/myapps. Let's put this in context. I'll move
Okay.
our faces to the other side. When I click on my app menu, I have apps. I can pin certain ones here, aside from the default, so that's cool. But I think it is actually talking about this all apps view. And we go through to here and explore all your apps. So rather than seeing it all as a stack of them, it's going to be firing off to this apps gallery rather than we used to have this kind of very bland, basic looking, here's lines and lines and lines of tiles of apps, and now we've got this gallery view. Did you know that the article and the additional information was written in September 2017?
Yes, and then it was updated in August of this year.
Yeah. I didn't realize that this sort of stuff was in place for that long, and it feels like this has only recently arrived.
I think it was redesigned a little bit, but yeah, it's been there. I don't think it was there because September, that was Ignite last year. So, I think it was announced and then put into place, but it has been there for a while.
Right. So it's talking about that the gallery, or rather the page that you may have had for My Apps, has got so large it's outgrown its borders, and now let's drop it all in this new gallery. I think that includes too any custom apps that your org are using. So here we go, down in the other section I've got things that I have given permission to use, my Azure AD, Fast Track, the education, community, that sort of stuff. So it's just that old page for your custom apps has been retired. It's now been pulled all together into this gallery,
which you have to scroll for. I don't like scrolling. I'm just gonna say.
Well,
those big, huge things at the top, like, you should be able to collapse that and say, I don't want those anymore.
But I think it's like if you go into the app menu itself, that's really where you can customize and make it faster. So if I go to all apps, we go down here to Sessionize, for example, and I want to pin that to the launcher. So now going back, Sessionize is there.
And that's what I think for all people who are doing switching and they go to that all apps a lot. That's the trick right there. Is if you're pulling up the same handful of stuff all the time, then make sure you add it on to the launcher. Don't save yourself some clicks. It makes it a whole lot easier.
The other thing that I didn't really think through till reading this, the learn more. Maybe we're just accustomed to seeing that as just a meaningless pop-up app. But to those of us who might want to leverage that as learning within the product, that's bringing the learning to us. So if I go into Outlook, Learn More, no, it's actually from this page. So that's fine. That gives you a basic quick description. But if I go to this full gallery page, I'm pretty sure it guides me through to support.office.com. Outlook, Learn More. Yes. So it'll take you through to the Learning Center where you can get stuck in and start learning how to use Outlook.
Yep. But wouldn't that be great if the one you just clicked before actually had a link to this as well?
To the same one instead of a short description. Correct. Yep. There we go. Saving the world again. Let's move on.
Last one, sir. This one is brand new, man. Yeah. Oh, we got a lot to talk about here.
Well, yes and no. I know what you mean. It's yet another reminder, in fact, to say...
No, I'm not making fun. I'm not saying it's bad. This is a huge change. This is really big, especially for organizations that have been using 1.0. I get it, and so don't get me wrong when I say things like that. It's just this is probably at least the fourth one this year. I think that we've seen a reminder or some sort of nuance of the same message. One was specifically about email. Anyway, so that's what I mean. I don't mean it's not important. We need to make sure that we're doing this. It is now October 29th for us over
Yep.
here in the far west.
And not the
For
31st in New Zealand, because we don't skip
that,
a day, like a 2 days. Sorry. Just so you're not disoriented there, Suzanne.
so so anyway, it's coming up this week, and you need to, if you've not taken action now, now is the time. Don't wait. Don't be sitting around, thinking, "Oh, I've got all the time in the world." You don't. So
Yep.
that's what that's all about.
Yep. And this is applications, third-party apps. It will be third-party apps because Microsoft have changed all of theirs to use the newer version of TLS.
Yep.
If you've got any of those line of business applications that are relying on 1.0, look, read a little closer to it. It will work in 2 days' time and 4 days' time, but they will not be supporting any changes or craziness. So if that app fails because it can't communicate with TLS anymore, then it's about time that app or that platform upgrades and uses a more secure protocol.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. Don't. It's one of those support things. Don't. Now is the time to move.
Yeah.
Do it.
And
do
that's
it.
all I have to say about that, in the words of Forrest.
Yes,
Yeah.
Forrest Gump.
Now,
Yes.
any observations this week? I saw a few conversations around some Teams outages and some craziness around how it was presented.
I didn't actually see that.
Okay, there's a few threads in the tech community talking about how they couldn't log in, and some of the user profile photos were missing. Some of the things were not showing correctly.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Apart from that, I didn't hear a lot on the community. There's a adoption call. What do they call it? The champions call and community that they're building up in the tech community. Karawana Gatimu runs the call there, and they've released recently some resources around day in the life of. So if you find those resources useful to show people and get them an idea of how might you use Office 365, how might you use Teams and various different pieces throughout your day, these are very pictorial and nice way of saying, this is how you might use more of Office 365.
Yep.
Any observations from your side?
Nope, I don't think so. I'm watching the conversation
Yeah.
in the chat room, and here's what I'm going to suggest. We're about to end the show. Take this onto Twitter. Let's have this conversation and continue the conversation. Use hashtag RE365. But continue the conversation, because this is one that is good conversation of getting opinions and thoughts on direction on how to take all of these products we have and use them to the best of their ability, particularly for your organization, right? We've already talked about that a little bit here today. So just take it off and jump onto Twitter and continue the conversation there. But it's very good to be thinking about this, and I like these questions about what's best for this situation or that situation given XYZ, for your organization. So it's fantastic. So take it. Let's continue the conversation after the show.
All right. So that was our week today. This is Darrell and Daniel tonight. Good now to you. 365 Message Center. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Goodbye.